Welcome to Creatives Grab Coffee, a podcast where we talk about the business of video production. Well, Judith, thank you for joining us on Creatives Grab Coffee. As Dario mentioned, you are our second guest for the 2022 season, and just wanted to see, how has everything been with you? How has the year kicked off so far?
Honestly, I'm just getting introduced to you guys, and this is a really cool idea. I don't know, where are you located? Are you in Canada? Are you in the US? Where are you guys?
We're in Toronto. We're close to you.
As well. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been weird, man. We had probably the biggest January on books prepared in December, and then everything got canceled.
Oh, really?
Everything got canceled.
Oh, wow.
With the new lockdowns, without mentioning some of the clients, there were some pretty cool ones that we were working on for almost a year and a bit to get these sort of deals.
Oh man,
it just shut down. So I'll be honest with you, it was frustrating and annoying because that's 2 years in a row where that sort of happened.
Yeah.
And although that happened, I mean, I got to be grateful. I've got a great team around me that even though with the lockdowns and everything, we still had, every year increasing and growing almost by double. So even though it was a frustrating January, I can see some things already moving forward down the pipeline. So
that sucks to hear. We're in the post production process right now for a pretty big project that took up all of our January, but us too, at the
we weren't sure.
The end of December, we were like, oh my God, I don't think it's gonna go through, because they were announcing the lockdowns. We're like, okay, it's not happening. Damn it, this sucks. And then
I was skeptical till up until even on the first day of shooting. I'm like, is it still happening? I know we're here filming, but is it happening? Or
yeah. We had some great projects that we filmed in November, December that we, are still kind of working on the post-production for. Mm-hmm. But you know how it is in the film industry. It's a pipeline, right? It's a conveyor belt. If that conveyor belt stops, it's you create this huge gap. And now it's time to do the whole catch-up dance again, which we should actually formally name the catch-up dance. Get a sponsorship by Heinz or something.
Oh, yeah, new marketing idea for them, right?
It's good.
How do you handle that happening to you? How do you keep your positive energy up? Because I mean, if our project for January didn't go through, I'm not gonna lie, it would have been a pretty big downer.
Yes.
So I'm just curious how you would have dealt with it.
I personally believe that the best policy is transparency. I'm not here to give you an Instagram account of the life where it's all the good things. Man, it was rough. It was an emotional roller coaster. These are things, like I said, we were working on for almost a year and a half to lock in. And then at the snap of a finger, it's nope, all done. You can't do this. And man, just my whole team, I had other teams lined up because it was a big project to come in and do this as well. So it's not just food on my table, sinking or rising tide raises all ships. So, but that being said, once you do go through that emotion, one thing I believe of myself is that, quality and persistence equals success. You do things with quality and you do them consistently, it's almost guaranteed that you will have success. So, fine, it's done. Let's get back to what made things work in the first place. Just continue to talk to people, connect, create quality, and then things will pick up by themselves. And we're seeing that right now. In fact, I had an opportunity 2020, at the end of 2021, it was probably the busiest time I've ever had in my career, 10 years, which is a blessing. But, I was like, man, I'm going to need a break pretty soon. And then I got it, and now I'm complaining about it. So I did take that time to, sit down with the team and really think about what are our next steps moving forward, which is something we wanted to do for a long time. We just never had time to sit down. And we came up with a plan. Now we have a way to move forward, and we can see the next 5 years kind of unfolding. And that's great. So, in every cloud, there's a silver lining, just not to be too cliche, but it's really about perspective. How can you use things to create opportunities rather than sulking and sitting back and saying, oh, we didn't get what we wanted.
We went through something similar at the beginning of the pandemic, because I remember March till June, our books were like empty, right?
Yeah.
And I remember for a good 3 months, we were just sitting around, not doing anything. And I know a lot of the other guests we've spoken to were in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
So that's actually what prompted us to kind of sit down and do a complete audit of our business and try to restructure it from like the ground up, right?
The one thing that kind of like kept us afloat and kind of like getting back into the rhythm and, keeping sane was doing our own content. And that's one thing that we noticed that you also do. Like, we took a look at like some of the blog posts that you've written on Black and White Media. And do you feel like whenever you have those slow moments, like especially now, like you kind of fall back onto that where it's like, oh, how can I work on myself? How can I work on my business and develop content? Is that kind of like a little bit of what you do when that happens?
Yeah, it's a good thing to continually push your limits and push your bar. And when you're doing client work, that's not usually the best time to really try new things and really push yourself. You want to make sure that you can give them what they're looking for and give them the quality. So yeah, it is a great opportunity to really not just work on yourself and the business, but really push yourself to a new level, see where you can take it. You were asking me about the beginning of COVID, but this was the thing. This is why you have a good team around you. So we sat down like 2 weeks before the first lockdown, and we saw what was kind of going down on a global scale. And it was before the lockdown, we actually created a new website that was dedicated to live streaming, because we saw it. We were like, this is coming. And we didn't know exactly how long it was. Like, nobody did, how long it would be, what was going to take. But I was like, okay, we have skills in cinematography. We have the sort of artistic eye, but not a lot of people understand the technical components of what it takes to do a live broadcast. Even through something like Zoom, with my background, and I've done television production. My partner has done productions from all over the world with like Google and New York Fashion Week and stuff like that. And we combine those things to create this really cool new brand where it wasn't just about giving a live stream experience. It was about creating a cinematic live stream experience, and something that wasn't just, webcams pointed, but thinking about the set design, thinking about the lighting, thinking about, what's the vision for this. And a lot of people appreciated that. A lot of people, to be honest, couldn't understand at the beginning. Why do I need this? I can just do a Zoom call. But pretty quickly they realized, having 50 people on a Zoom call may not be the best solution here to do a presentation. But yeah, that's how we kind of filled in some of that gap in 2020.
Is this is this part of Black and White Media, or is it kind of independent of the business?
So how we structured that is, it's another company called On the Dot Studios, and it's with the same team, but we wanted to compartmentalize those two things because they're not necessarily the same. Mm-hmm. But it's sort of this umbrella where there's Black and White Media, and then underneath that, we do marketing as well, so like video marketing specifically. But then we also have this On the Dot, where it is geared towards live streaming and video, virtual conferencing, things like that.
So you guys do the cinematic live stream.
Yes.
You have the video marketing, and you also have the video production.
Yes.
Like, how do you handle, like, that's a lot of endeavors, right? Like, how big is your team? Like, how do you handle all this?
So we have 3 key roles. Obviously we have a head producer, myself, director, and I run a lot of the business components. And then I have a cinematographer who is sort of a genius at everything technical, and when it comes to camera, gears, lighting, and all that. And then we do have people that we subcontract depending on the scale of the project to handle certain things at different times. We also have editors, drone pilots, and things, again, all depending on scale of projects. But one thing that is important is having people around you that you can trust, that you can ask, hey, I need this done. Can you do it? And if they say yes, you can put your hands up and say, and trust that it's going to get done. Whether that's a small team, a big team, even the contractors that you work with, you want these people in your circle. And, luckily I've been able to build that.
Yeah, having the right people around you is so important. And it's kind of hard to find at times, right? Like being able to find like, the right editor that you're like, okay, this guy's reliable. Anytime I got a big project, I can always call them up and they're good for me. Like it's so hard to build that. How long would you say it's taken you to build a roster of creatives that you can reliably like bring onto a project?
Oh, it's constantly evolving, man. I would never say it's ever built.
Yeah.
People come and go. But again, not to toot my horn, I had a coach playing soccer back in the day. I had a coach that told me a great player isn't somebody who can do all the tricks or even score all the goals. A great player is somebody who knows their strengths and their weaknesses, and they play to their strengths and build their weaknesses. So for me, a great strength is understanding people, and it works well as a director as well when you're trying to get emotions, when you're trying to really get people to bring out their best. That is a skill, and it's the same skill required to find the right people to work with. If I can say, I don't know if I can sniff out the bullshit, right? There are a lot of people who talk the talk,
Can't walk the walk.
Can't walk the walk, or they're just bad people. So we don't want that around. I don't think anybody does.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Positive energy is so key, and it definitely is a hard thing to kind of find nowadays. Luckily, it's if you know what you're looking for, it's very easy to spot, as you mentioned. When there are like certain red flags that pop up. This is not just with people you work with, but also like the potential people that you encounter down the road. Who you interact with, who you grow with, and yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I forget who said it, but my dad used to drill this into me. Says, show me your friends and I'll show you your life. And
Yeah.
And
there's a saying, I think there's like that specific saying where it's like who you are as a person is also determined by like the people you surround yourself with. So that is always a very good clean indicator of people's personalities and the type of people that they hang out with, right?
Yes.
And same thing in the business world, like who you work with. It's like that is a style of work that you have. It's like almost like a smaller brand that you kind of see spread throughout the people.
Yeah. Are you guys? I'm asking you questions now.
Yeah. Go for it.
Sort of partners in your business, or
Yeah.
We're a partnership. We started doing videos together for the student groups at Ryerson, and that was going really well. And we were both part of the business program, right? So I was doing business and law, Kyrill was doing marketing. And then once we graduated, we're like, I don't know, let's give it a shot for like a year. Let's see where it goes. And
see what happens.
That was about what, 6-7 years ago now, Kyrill?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy kind of where it's come. And and we mentioned like in some of our previous episodes that like the first few years it was almost like as if we were two freelancers that worked together a lot. And then
I
would say
up until 2020.
Well, yeah, up until COVID hit.
Yeah.
Basically when COVID hit, it basically forced us to reevaluate everything, basically tear down the business and rebuild it right back up again, and that's when, like when we mentioned the first few months when nothing was happening, we were just like talking a lot, thinking a lot, trying to figure out what to do and what could we expect, with everything being so uncertain, right? And like you, 2021 was our most successful year to date, and which is kind of crazy to think considering, with all the restrictions that there have been, right?
Yeah. One of the things, and I don't like to dwell on what ifs and what could have been, but can you imagine how cool it would have been if 2021 had no restrictions and there was nothing going on. Like how
Yeah.
big would it have been for so many companies I talked to? They still had a great year, but it's like it's like trying to do a Olympic race with a cast on your leg. Just imagine.
I feel like for us, it's actually been, I think the lockdowns kind of helped us just because of the particular situation we were in, where it's like, okay, 2020, we finally spoke to a lot of people in the industry. We're like, okay, if we're going to restart this, this is kind of like the right way to go about it. And then 2021 was just kind of like, okay, focus on it, like slowly develop it. And then it worked out. But 2022, without lockdowns or restrictions, will be very good for us at least.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
But I can only imagine for other businesses though, how bad it's been, like, or how restraining it's been.
Film industry, we still technically were allowed to work. But I have a lot of friends who own restaurants who, who were in areas where it was just completely shut down, and yeah, they're struggling. So,
you mentioned you're really smart for saying where we were heading and like starting up the cinematic live streaming element of your business. We actually had another guest, the first guest for this year, Bridget from B Video Productions. She actually also did something similar where she pivoted more so into animation work.
Yeah.
And now she's like mostly doing that. So she went from, I think it was like 90% live action, like maybe 10% animation, to now it's the opposite way.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder have you kind of done the same in a way, or is it just like another like part of it that you offer? Like has it grown to the point where it's more than what you were doing before, or just kind of like an extra additional thing?
Yeah, I mean, I've always offered animation.
Well, not animation, but the cinematic live streaming.
The live streaming.
No, it's still to date. The production is, the bread and butter.
Yeah.
We do have some amazing clients in the live stream. We actually helped a bank this year. We built them a studio inside their bank, and we were doing live streams because they go out to BNN, they do like global financial economic forums. And so they actually saw the benefit of not just showing up on a webcam with crappy audio. So we built them a studio in their bank and helped them operate it, which is so smart, so smart. And the CEO, anytime he has important meetings, everyone comments on how amazing he looks and how clear his sound is. And that alone for me is a success.
It's almost surprising that that's not like the standard with a lot of these bigger organizations where they have the capital to fund this.
Correct.
And I don't know what necessarily it could be, but like that should be the standard at that point. They should be like setting the example, especially when they're interacting with so many different clients, networks, everything,
Now that it's built, it's super easy. We built it so you push a button, everything turns on, and you hit go live, and it's done. But it still looks really good. So this is a battle that I've had many times.
Question though, because you've built now that whole setup for them, do you at least continue to do work with them though? Okay, you do. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going there next week again, and it's been about 8 months of building this space, and the relationship has only gotten stronger, and they've seen different ways that we can be helpful, not just with this one thing. So and that's it for me. This whole business is relationships.
Yeah, we like the one thing we've noticed is that essentially we've all we're not only just like providing a service, we're actually solving problems for our clients. And I feel like the more and more problems and challenges that we solve for them, the stronger the relationships kind of grow. And, as a result, like, I'm just curious, like, how do you typically go about, like finding out the big challenges that a lot of your clients are typically facing? Like when they come to you with, we're trying to do this, we think this is what we need to do. Do you dive further into that and kind of see if that is what they need fixed, or is it kind of something else that you're trying to do?
Yeah, often video is just the gateway into what the real issues are. So we have a really extensive interview consultation portion where we give our clients questionnaires. we really dig deep to understand what the pain points are. Because if we make this great looking video and it's cinematic and beautiful, but it solves absolutely nothing, then it's a waste of time and money, and it looks bad on us. So for me, the actual production, which is the sexy part of filmmaking, is the tip of the iceberg. The planning, the pre-production, getting to know your clients, building that relationship. That to me is where the work is at, and then the post-production as well.
How do you deal with the because that I agree with what 100% what you said, and it's something that we've been also trying to integrate into our business. But I feel like a lot of times we're hitting this resistance where like they just want no, we just need this like one video. Like I get, yeah, there's a bigger problem, but maybe we don't want to deal with it, or we don't have the money for it. So how do you
at least occasionally, like occasionally,
it's not always, not with every client, but
yeah.
I'm sure that's a big obstacle that you've probably had to face yourself, right?
Yes and no. So again, with the skill of being able to communicate with people and read people, you have to know who you're talking to. And there have been times where I've used this tactic where I've also used it on my kids. Not that they've ever done this, but just as an example, my kid, I see her about to touch the stove and I say, don't touch that, that's hot. And she looks at me and says, okay. And then I see her hand going slowly. At that point, I wouldn't do anything. I would almost let her touch it just so she understands why I say no. And it's the same idea with certain clients. When I can see they think this is what they want, and I say, that's not what you want, and then they go do it anyway. I've had so many people who've come back to me after and said, okay, now I get it. When they've done a project and failed. So I'd rather work with a client that understands why we do what we do and why we're the experts. If they're coming at us and they've solved all their problems already, according to them, then why do you hire an expert? Just go do it. So sometimes it's better to let them make the mistake and figure out, okay, this is why we need these people. And other times, depending on how the relationship is, you can gently suggest, hey, if you really want to solve this problem, this is the solution we think is going to work best. And if that trust is there, if that relationship has been built, they'll say, okay, how can we do that? How do we explore that option?
Is there like a limit also in terms of how much resistance you're willing to kind of tolerate with some people? Because as you said, you can give them the suggestion, they go make the mistake, they can come back. Because there have been times where, at least with some leads, where we've had, exploratory calls like this on Zoom where we've talked to them, really trying to dive deep and understand their business. And they're explaining it to us, and we're trying to kind of, but they're not explaining it to the point where we can understand it. And we're trying to figure out what the problem is, when you start getting this resistance of like, oh, why do you need to know so much about this? And this is like, this has nothing to do with what we asked you for. And then we're trying to say, like, we're trying to figure out what's the right position for you. But then we realized clearly they're not really, either not serious or not really understanding everything. So we just decided, okay, clearly you guys need something a little different from what we provide. So we kind of like went our separate ways. Like, do you feel like that happens occasionally with you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. There have been times where we've had to walk away because we knew it would end up being a bad situation. There are other times where I feel it's appropriate to stamp my authority on a conversation.
Oh, okay.
And that sounds bad, but sometimes in the business world, especially, you're dealing with high-level CEOs, C-level people who are normally the ones giving the instructions, and they're the ones who are telling other people what to do. So, I've had this experience where someone has contacted me, they're used to being, telling people what to do. And I'm like, listen, call somebody else if you want to tell them what to do. If you're calling me, it's because my team is the expert and you need the help. And if you want to work in that dynamic, I'm happy to help you. If not, let's part ways. And that sort of woke them up a little bit. And they're like, okay, I'm sorry. how can we do this? And then it like softened up to ask questions again. That's a huge gamble, but you got to know who you're talking to, and then you can have that mutual respect.
I was gonna say, like, that's a great tactic. I'm just curious because that's not exactly something that casually comes up in conversation. So just to let you know, this is how it is for us, right? Like, is there something that you kind of like look for typically with them, where like you're noticing this behavior, or you feel like they would be potentially open? Because like you said, it's a gamble to go with that approach, but is there something that you kind
of have to feel them out, Kyrill, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to know how to read people. So I think you obviously get a vibe where it's like, okay, this person's willing to listen. As long as I sell myself, like they'll be willing to accept kind of what I'm saying. Versus like there's some people where you just talk to and you're like, hey, they're just stubborn at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. Fair enough.
There's a bit of pride involved in that as well. If you're going outside for some help, it's almost like some people feel like if they're asking for help, they're failing, but that's not the case. I'm not a dentist. If I try to pull my own tooth out and I fail at it, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll go see a dentist. He's the expert. I can't tell him how to do his job. So, that's the kind of relationship that I'm looking for at the beginning. Are you looking for an expert, or are you looking for somebody that you can control and tell them what to do for the most part? Now, again, with the balance, I want my clients and my customers' input. I want to be collaborative with them so that we work together towards a common goal. But you don't want to end up fighting at every decision and every creative piece for something that, that should be decided just like this.
Yeah.
It never works for anyone.
It's a mutual respect, essentially, that what we're always looking for. As you hit it right on the head, we're looking for that collaborative kind of partnership where we're working towards a common goal. We're not here to combat each other. That's not the goal.
That's right.
Judah, why don't you give us a little background on like how you guys started in the business? Because you said you've been doing this for what, 10 years now?
Yeah, been in the film industry for about 10 years. Man, how do I make this story short? Okay, let me see.
The Cliff Notes version.
Cliff Notes, yeah.
So I actually grew up in the US, in Florida is where I was at last. And in the United States, we have these programs in high school called magnet programs. You can go to a specific school. You can apply to a school outside of your district if you want to go to that school for a skill. So if you're in drama and a school has a really good drama program, you can apply to go there. For sciences, all the different things. I happened to go to a school, so I didn't apply, that had a TV production program. And so they had their own studio, they had their own channel, and this was their sort of magnet program. And I ended up going to this school, and I happened into a class where one of the teachers saw I was a great communicator, and he's like, hey, why don't you come and try being an anchor on one of our shows? I said, sure, I'll give it a try. Went over like butter. It was so smooth. And then I just fell into like the whole creative process of creating film and creating art and TV shows and things like that. It was beautiful. Now, at the time, I was also like at a high level of soccer. Like I was with the United States youth soccer program. I went to university on a full scholarship for soccer. I ended up leaving to go play professionally in Belgium.
Oh, wow.
So film kind of was a back burner thing. I didn't know what was going on with that. But through circumstances and injuries and whatnot, I ended up back here in Canada, where my wife is from Mississauga. And I always thought I was going to end up back in the UK. So I was living in London. London's my heart home. And we ended up here to figure out what was next. And in the meantime, I was figuring out, I was like, hey, there's a lot of production going on here. Let me just go onto a movie set and see what's going on. So I started volunteering on movie sets, doing some background work. I got a couple of small parts in commercials and whatnot. And I started noticing that, I had zero say on what was happening creatively, even though I had a ton of ideas. But nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. I'm like, I got to start my own thing if I want to have any creative say. And that's when I started Black and White Media almost 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years in 2023, and slowly built up to what it is today.
Yeah, Kyrill's big into soccer, so when he saw that you did some work for TFC on your website,
Yeah.
you should have seen how big his eyes got.
I'm like, all right. I'm like, I got questions.
Yeah, well,
that's cool though.
When I first came to Canada, I ended up playing with TFC, so I still had some connections in there.
Oh, nice.
And that's how that happened. So yeah, that was good.
You said you went to Belgium. Was it the Belgian one league? Like, which team were you playing for there?
Yeah, I was playing with a club called Westerlo, and I actually was with Anderlecht for a while I was over there. And like I said, lots of injuries, naive 18-year-olds. It was life experience.
Yeah, that's always been the big risk when it comes to soccer. Like I used to play when I was younger as well. That not to that level, obviously, but still have that same kind of passion. I completely understand what it is. Even with the injuries, you just try to keep pushing, right?
That's it. Who's your team then? This is a big question.
Oh no, I didn't want to get to that. You said you're from London, so I feel like I have to guess which
Don't
club you were.
My team. I want to know what your team is.
Should we do same time, or is that it, or what?
Okay, already on 3.
All right, 3, 2, 1. United.
Man United.
Hey!
My man.
There we go. I was expecting a London team.
I lived in London, but you know what? I'm originally from Trinidad. And so by default, because of Dwight York being on Man United, it's like you had to be a Man United fan.
All right. Yep. Yep. I get it. For me, it was Dimitar Berbatov because he's Bulgarian. That's my background. So
Berbatov is class, man.
The touch of a god,
That's right.
Touch of a god.
What do they say? Touch of a god.
Because his first touch was the most insane first touch you will ever see, where like the ball could be flying at like ridiculous speeds and he would just very casually stop it as if he was like just grabbing something off the table.
Really?
Yeah, I'll show you some highlights later, Dario, but okay.
Yeah. Elegant in motion.
Yeah. Is it just going back to video stuff?
Yeah.
Are you the only one that runs the company, or do you have any partners?
Oh, he said he has one.
Yeah, we have 3 of us, and it's the producer, myself, and the cinematographer are the 3 key people in the partners. Yeah.
Did you guys all start at the same time?
No. I was solo pretty much until we started this this project with On the Dot Studios, the live event. And working with a team on that close level, it can either work or it can go up in flames pretty quickly. So seeing that it was working, we're like, we gotta put this together. And another saying, I'm full of cliches, guys. Just accept.
I like writing them down. You have some really good ones.
They're classics.
Like they're actually kind of nice.
So the saying is, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, you go together. So
okay.
I like working with a team for a common goal and all going in the same direction. It's just really cool.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, sorry, Kyrill, go ahead.
No, Dario, you're good.
I was gonna say, like, that's like, okay, you did almost a decade by yourself, right? I mean, obviously you have a team and everything, but not partner level, right? And then now you have like 2 extra partners, right? Like, was that how did you just decide, like, okay, I'm done being by myself, I want to add more people? Like, weren't you scared maybe of like, okay, if I do this could go bad? Because I think statistically that's usually what ends a business, right? So it's not like a light casual decision, right?
Yes. And no matter how nice somebody is, you are going to butt heads when you're working in or living or in any sort of close proximity. You're never going to agree on everything. But what I look for in anyone that I work with, from partners down to like a PA, is how do you deal with criticism? How do you deal with like hard issues? Because, we live in this fake world where everybody seems nice. They got the Instagram life, but you put a man under pressure, and that's when you see the real qualities come out. And on a film set, let me tell you something, there is pressure, and you can see people's true characteristics come out. So it doesn't take very long to learn who people truly are. I happen to work with some people who thrive under pressure, who can take, criticism, who are able to learn from mistakes and not dwell on other people making mistakes as well. Those kind of characteristics you cannot pay for. Those are things that are just gold, honestly.
So do you find it's you guys still maintain that collaborative aspect? Have you guys butted heads now that you guys are all at the same level? But you guys are able to work through it pretty easily, right? I see what
I'll tell you what. We won't get into the politics, but the first day I worked with these guys, we were doing a project for Shopify out in Ottawa, and it was a 2-day event, staying in a hotel. We're having dinner, and for the first time working with them, one of the guys said, "How do you feel about Donald Trump?" I'm like, good God. We got into like the craziest debates on the first night. And, that's how, for me, I know that I can work with people, because you are always going to have different opinions.
Yeah.
But if still you can love that person and think of them and respect that person and respect their differences, that's a great way to live life, not just work in a company. So I took that to heart. We challenge each other. We butt heads all the time, but I think it makes you better. I don't like working around people who are yes men. It's just
that's the whole reason you get into a partnership with anyone, or you work with certain people. You want to work with people that are different or provide another skill set that you potentially don't have, because you're never going to find another you. That never happens. And even if you did, you may not like them, or you might butt even more heads with them if they're exactly like you, right?
exactly.
And like you said, you don't want yes men. And like, I remember when Dario and I first started working together, it was like one of those very similar situations where it was just kind of like, we were just starting out, but like, we noticed that even though we have a lot of the same interests, but we're also very different in a lot of other ways. And I'm like, okay, there's potential for this to grow into something bigger down the road. Let's see kind of like where it goes. At least that's how I saw it. And, like you said, you go fast by yourself, or you, or what was it? The second part?
You want to go fast, you go by yourself. But if you want to go far, you go together.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, maybe it was like a slower burn in the beginning because it was the two of us trying to figure things out together. But now it's starting to go even further than probably what we expected originally.
Yeah, because at the beginning we were still like, we were
Students.
friends, but students, we're still learning the tricks of the trade. And then we're also now working together, which was weird at first. Like, we had to learn each other's work relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because it's different when you're friends versus when you're working together, right?
Right.
But then, like, I guess we clicked pretty well with that. And like, even now, like, we both know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we use that to our advantage. So it works out pretty smoothly at the end of the day. Like, sure, we butt heads at the end of the day, but as long as we throw like a Sopranos reference at the end of that, like, it's good to go,
It alleviates it.
Transparency too. Like, one thing I appreciate is that we don't let anything fester amongst our team.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people just let things fester, and it turns into resentment. And that's when it can burn down the walls of a relationship and the business. So we always practice a policy. If somebody has some grievances, just bring them to the table and let's figure it out.
Yeah. Always important to squash that right away. Cause like you said, that's gonna, like, that negativity, that those grievances are going to translate into the work, into the way they communicate with other people, and the business can suffer as well, not only in the relationships.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and luckily we've always been pretty upfront with each other. So anytime it's like, I don't think we've ever let something go like, okay.
No, at the most, it's like you give it like an hour to like sleep on it or something, or it's like cool down. It's like, all right, this is what happened. Let's figure this out right now, right?
This was probably the best lesson I've taken away from soccer, is that in a team setting, I would have coaches yelling and screaming and saying the worst things in the world. But, after that passes, you realize they want the best for you. They're trying to pull the best out of you. And so despite how they say the things that they do, you got to just, take the criticism. What can I take out of this? And then build on it. So
I wonder if you'd,
sorry, I was just gonna say, it makes so much sense that he went from soccer to like making like video production, because it's like you're dealing with the same thing, except instead of kicking a ball around, you're creating a video, right? But it's still teamwork.
Yes.
It's still leadership. It's still a lot of those elements.
well, that's the
Like you trained for this.
yeah. That's part of the beauty of the sport of soccer, as well as, or any team sport, is because a lot of the life lessons and a lot of the relationships that you build, or like how you build relationships, how you work with other people, translate into other parts of your life. And like everyone has a role, you're brought onto a team. Everybody has a certain job. You have to excel in it, but you also have to work as a unit with the rest, and that's how a film set is. That's how a production set is. You have the camera ops, the audio ops, the makeup, the editors, the producers, the works, like everybody has a job, but it's all a team that has to mesh together.
Yeah, that's great.
I saw another thing. I saw a thing on your LinkedIn, and what you said earlier kind of connected the dots for me. Because I remember early on, you're like, you saw what was coming with the pandemic, so you did the live streaming. And I just saw the other day on LinkedIn that you're also now accepting crypto as payment, right? You want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I'm very interested, if I can say it mildly, in sort of the global economic state, especially after COVID. So I listened to a lot of experts in finance as a weird hobby.
What are like the top two you like to listen to?
Robert Kiyosaki, and who's the other one? So this podcast, Jordan Harbinger, the Jordan Harbinger podcast. Harbinger, yeah. He actually frequently has guests on that talk about not just cryptocurrency, but what it means on sort of a global scale. So he talks about a ton of different relevant topics, but very much is dialed into the world economic state we're in right now. So I appreciate those two, listening to them very much. I'm trying to think who another one might be. In any case, they're all of the belief that the future is going to be in cryptocurrencies. Now, that's going to take a long time, and there are going to be a ton of ups and downs to get to a place where this is sort of a globally recognized use, but it is headed in that direction. And the people who are going to benefit the most, or maybe lose the most, but definitely those who will benefit, are those who are the early adopters and people who are creating new ways to use this method of payment. So I have another friend who owns a software company, and they hired an entire team of software developers in Iran, and they pay them in cryptocurrency. And so they've never actually had to put money in. They bought cryptocurrency when it was at its lowest, and even now that it's gone down, they're still making money from that and paying people out of it. So, do your research, know what you're getting into. I'm not advising anybody on what to do.
Disclaimer, do your research.
Do your research. But for me, if people like Robert Kiyosaki are investing or at least diversifying into cryptocurrencies, then it's worth it for me to attempt to do that as well.
How are you because we got into crypto like early September. I wish we got into it in July, because oh my god, I'm telling you, I did fantasize about it going dipping those levels.
There will be more opportunities, man.
Oh yeah, I know, but July dip was particularly spectacular. So we got into it in I'd say early September, and just for personal investing stuff,
just to learn it.
Yeah, we're actually just gonna start it for our company too, to accept crypto. I was wondering, how are you accepting? Are you doing it through because we like crypto.com, and I know they have like a function there where you could actually send out invoices and accept it through their system. And I actually signed us up for that and all. Like, are you doing it through them, or how are you accepting?
No, although I do trade in crypto.com as well. So I use 3 different things depending.
Oh, wait a minute before you go further.
Yes.
Which card do you have? You have the Ruby, Sapphire. What are you at?
I am not using a card of theirs.
Oh, you're not,
okay.
not using the card. Okay.
I'm not using a card. So for me, I invest in crypto for the long term. I keep putting money in there. I've never taken anything out so far.
Yeah.
So I don't want access to it. I don't want to have it close by. I want to leave it in there for years. That being said, for accepting money, I had to set up a whole different thing. So this is where I use Coinbase. And Coinbase allows you to set up a wallet. And so I have a wallet for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, depending on businesses choose to use whichever one they want.
Yeah.
And then in my invoice from now moving forward, in my invoices, I'll have that wallet QR code scannable in the invoice so that people can pay.
Okay.
So whether they want it or not, the QR code for the wallet is there, and they can choose to use that option if they'd like.
I see. Oh, okay. Interesting. Are you, which
It's like
one?
another option.
Yeah. Are you what are you accepting as payment? Like obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum,
And
are there
Ethereum,
other ones?
just those 2 for now. Those are, the most stable at this time.
Yeah.
And so, if we get into all the little options, it can get pretty complicated. But yeah, just those 2 for now.
Yeah, I think crypto.com also released it's not their own wallet, but they're doing it in participation with another company. Like they're selling cold wallets now. Okay, interesting. Are you doing anything else? A funny story.
I'll be honest with you, it's more. I guarantee, out of the however many thousands of transactions a year, I might get one person that'll do it as a novelty, but it's more of a publicity stunt than anything else.
That's what we figured.
For now, I think as things unfold, especially. We are going to turn this black and white media into an international company, setting up shop down in Florida as well. Then I think there will be way more use for that trading of that currency without the international bank fees, without moving money back and forth. I think that's where it would really come in handy.
Well, if you're gonna do it, Florida's the best place. They're open for crypto. But funny story about that. We had a project for this company called what was the name? Tendermint, right? Mm-hmm. This was like in July before we got into crypto, and they're like, yeah, we're like a crypto company. We're like this blockchain, blah 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 blah. We're like, I don't know what that means, but okay, I can do your video, right? So we went to the video. 2 months later, when we finally get into it, I was like, oh my God, Kyrill, these guys are huge. Like they're part of the Atom network.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these guys are huge. Like, holy shit. Like
yeah, it was like a little Easter egg thing. And we were even like jokingly thinking, it's like, oh, we should have accepted crypto back then. We would have doubled the money by now.
Oh my gosh.
That's the one curious thing is like, if you accept payment from a client, like say for sake of argument, it was like a $10,000 project.
Yeah.
Would you have to time it when they pay you? Because what if they accidentally pay you on it when it's on a high at 10K and then it just drops down to like 5? It's like,
but he's in it for the long term.
No, I know, but I'm just
it is a gamble. And like I said, it's more of a publicity stunt, but
yeah.
I feel, and so many experts that I've been listening to think that Bitcoin over the next decade could hit $1 million per coin. And if that's the case, a $10,000 project to hit $1 million is
that's amazing.
Not too bad.
That's fine for me. Yeah.
Judah, you're coming up on your 10-year anniversary. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the bigger challenges you faced up until this point, and maybe some of the challenges you foresee yourself facing maybe in the next couple of years?
Sure. The biggest challenge that I've faced in my 10 years as an entrepreneur is myself. There is no challenge like the challenge from yourself when you're battling can I do this? Is this the right decision? You're always second guessing and questioning yourself. And I imagine that's not over. That's never going to be completely over. However, you know, winning those small battles every day builds confidence in your mind that I can do this. I am in the right position. It was never a matter of creativity. It was a matter of, you know, how do I talk to clients? How do I do this? How to do that? And there are lots of books on entrepreneurial endeavors and how to do things, but you can't understand it until you're in it.
Yep.
It's just like books on parenting. They talk about all the things you can do, tricks to help parent. It doesn't matter what book you read. When your kid comes out, all that goes out the window, and you have to be in it to understand it. Man. Yep. So over the past 10 years, the battle with myself, not anyone telling me anything, not any particular client. It's just a state of mind that you have to try to get to the next step. I'll never forget my first sort of, for me at the time, was a big project for like $1,000, right?
Yeah.
We remember those days.
Yeah, I remember those days. A friend of mine had a clothing company. It was a sport clothing company. And he asked me, hey, can you do this project? We just need some photos. At the time I was doing the whole thing, photos, website, everything I could get my hands on. Asked me to do this project, which I had no business doing. I'll tell you right now, I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Yeah, it's easy, man. You should have seen me on YouTube tutorials all day and night. And then I show up at the place, did the job, made a few mistakes, but we got it done. And for me, when I look at successful entrepreneurs, business people, they say yes. And sometimes they say yes and then figure it out. But the people who say, I can't do it until I know how to do it, those are the people that will fall and will fail. You've got to take the risk. You got to take the chance, say yes, and figure it out along the way. Yeah.
I mean, we completely agree. When you're starting out, you don't, like, anyone who started out didn't know the blueprint, right? Steve Jobs didn't know what it was like with Apple, that it was going to become the next big thing. He just kind of went with it. Granted though, like, he was promising things that weren't actually working at the time. So, we gotta, there's a line to be drawn, but yeah. But when it comes to if you have to film something within a certain style, you could do the research and then figure out how to kind of replicate that, as an example and things like that. And, it's funny when you mention like the first big job where you get like the most, like a lot of money for what it is. Like, I feel like we all remember that one thing when it's just like, when they finally say yes and they want to take you on for that budget, it's just like, I could actually make this much money doing it. Didn't it feel like it was almost like a cheat code, that you just kind of entered? Like, that was how I felt when I made my first $1,000 off of one job. Like, did not expect that.
Yes. Yeah. We've all been there. I that's my kids home from school. If you hear screaming,
that's all good.
I often say this on social media platforms, but you often have to look backwards, see where you came from, to remember, how far you've come. We can get caught up on, oh, I'm not here, I haven't reached this goal, or I haven't done this. But all you have to do is look where you started and see how far you've come. And you're like, okay, I'm getting somewhere. It may not be exactly where you want to be, but, quality and persistence will create success.
Yeah, as long as you're farther ahead than you were yesterday, you're on a good path,
Yeah. People don't realize that growth is a slow burn, and you get caught up in it, where it's just like, okay, like, it's been, the last few months, it feels like, it's been like kind of like a slow growth. And like you said, you may always feel like nothing's really changed, but in reality, if you look back, then it's like, whoa, it actually has changed quite drastically from there. Because I feel like we all have an ideal kind of like position we want to be in, or at least the type of work that we want to be doing. the type of projects we want to kind of like be able, like, for example, I want to do a little bit more work, more on the sports and the documentary side of things, and then it's just like, okay, I'm not there yet, like when will we get there as a business? And then it's like, oh wait, but we've also done all this, which will lend itself to that when we get there. It's crazy how much like growth is a slow burn.
Absolutely. It's great though that you know what you want. A lot of people just continue doing things and let the river take them wherever it may. But for those people who know what they want, they can forge their own path. You want to do sports, and you want to do more documentary. Find those clients, pitch those things, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but you know what I'm saying. Once you know what you want, that's the hardest thing. Figure out what you want and then go after it. So that's great, man.
There's 2 more things I want to touch on before we end this, but
sure. I'll be quick. I'm giving long-winded answers.
No. I love it.
No, this is like, to be honest, like we're willing to keep it going as long as, because these are just great conversations to even have between the 3 of us, right? But like we also want to be respectful of your time, and not take too much, right? I think we've already hit the 1 hour mark at this point.
We're past the 1 hour. But the first one I want to hit on is we asked this to all the guests. It's what was that one moment in your career that kind of got you to where you are today?
It's like a turning point.
Because everyone's had that one turning point. It's always interesting to hear other people's turning points.
Yeah, it's funny. I tried to do a short film and I still haven't released it. It's terrible. But it was almost like I wanted to blend commercial and filmmaking and to kind of blur those lines, kind of giving a story of black and white media. It's just shit sitting on the shelf. I should do something with this. But the turning point for me, I captured in this film was when I moved to Canada. I was a professional soccer player, but I had to work. I had to do something in the meantime before I figured out what was happening next. I just took a job at an Apple store, good with technology and whatnot, always have been. And I guess I was like 24, 25 years old. There were like 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds around. One of the managers was like 23 years old. And here I am sweeping the floor in an Apple store. I'm like, this is terrible. And then they're sitting behind the bar laughing. Like, look at this guy. He's the oldest one here sweeping the floor. And the manager is like, hey, you didn't sweep the corner. So I dropped the broom and pretty much walked out. And I'm like, this is not happening. And so I think a month later, I started Black and White Media. And at that time, I wasn't getting paid jack at that time. I knew I couldn't be sweeping floors. So instead, and I also, another turning point was when I dropped out of film school. So I was going to Sheridan for film, but I knew that I already understood I could learn how to do film techniques. What I wasn't getting was how to run a business, how to communicate, how to do like the business of film. And I know there are courses for that, but I said, listen, I can pay $20,000 a year for 4 years to learn how to do this, or I can try to start something and maybe not make that much money at the beginning, but I won't be in debt and I can figure this out. So that's exactly what I did. And you know, the funny thing is after those 4 years, I started hiring some of my friends who came out of film school. They obviously were better at me technically, but I was running a business. It was already in motion. And so I feel like I have a head start in that regard. Maybe I don't even count the first 4 years as business, but by the time I understood what was going on, man, things just started taking off.
So
Yeah.
would you say like it was like as soon as you started Black and White Media, it's just been like that? Or was there like a specific moment? Like, because what we're curious about is like,
yes,
after you started the company, like what was that one moment that kind of skyrocketed the business to where you guys are today?
Let me see. What's a one moment?
could be a series too, you know, like if, you know, like something led to this, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be that one specific one as well.
So as a film company, we were seeing success because I would pick up the phone and talk to people, and I can convince people this is what you need. But where the real success happened was when I started changing the way we did proposals. The way we did proposals was simply like listing what we would do and here's what it would cost, and then sending it off. But what I started to do was think, listen, we're a visual company. This is a great opportunity, not just to show numbers, but like give an idea of who we are, what's this going to look like, show the creative side as well. And so we started building these packages. In film, they call it like a mood board in the film industry. We started combining the mood board with the estimate and putting videos and like live images and creating a presentation rather than just here's some numbers. And man, I tell you, that for me was probably one of the biggest turnarounds that I've seen. And now with those types of things, we're seeing 80-90% conversion rates when people are already interested. We've already had that conversation, and they get to understand that we care about their business, because in this pitch, in this document, okay, thank you. In this document, you know, we're showing them how their business should look. We dive deep on their website. We go take pictures from their own website. We take you know, mottos and things like that, and we put it together in a package. So they're like, oh, these people understand us. They get what we're about. I think we started doing that in 2018. And the one that I do for like my super big clients is actually give them one of those, but I also do a video pitch as well. I'm like, we're selling something here and we're not even using our own product to sell it. So I started making video pitches that work with the PDF or the slideshow that they get, and they can follow along. And man, people are like, okay, this is impressive. We like it. So I think those two things.
You basically created the black and white media experience and given it to them in a way, right? And something that they can show to other people within their organization. Because it's one thing to pitch in front of one or two people, but then it's like a game of telephone, you know, when you're pitching to people, you know, you may give the presentation, then they go and tell the higher ups there, but you know, the hires didn't talk to you at that point, you know, but you've essentially solidified it so that they can kind of show it to whoever needs to. So it's a very, very good strategy. Very nice.
Very smart. Yeah. We did something similar, not on the proposal end of things, but for like our blog posts, we started making the video equivalent and then putting it in the blog post. And we've actually found that's a really good resource for us to just inform clients of certain things. Like we'll just link the video. Because I remember I was talking to Kyrill, I'm like, look, we're a video production company, but we're doing like text and images for the blog post. But if we just do a video, that would just like, we should be able to do proper content for ourselves.
We need to.
We could do it for other people. We could do it for ourselves now. So we did something similar on that end, just for the blog videos. We're like, okay, like we'll do ones where like, how is a video made? Like, how much does a video cost? Like we've
simple things.
Actually shown, simple stuff like that. But they've actually come in really handy, because whenever we do have someone reaching out that, you know, it's the first time making a video, we'll usually send those two videos, and like it kind of explains the whole process, right?
Yes. I actually just did a LinkedIn Live for the first time, where I was teaching both filmmakers who tuned in, and also a ton of my friends and clients tuned in, and I was explaining how the process of filmmaking works, so they could understand why videos cost what they do, and let them think about, okay, this is where my money's going. Because a lot of people who do video for the first time don't understand what goes into it. They just see this video and when they're almost trying to sell you on how easy it is to do their video.
Yeah.
Like, no. Are you looking for quality or are you looking for crap? I mean, we're not putting crap out there.
Yeah.
And the cool one is, have you seen that triangle before? A lot of people have seen this on the internet. So you have this triangle, and at the top is quality. On this corner,
You can't
this corner is fee, and this corner is cost.
Yeah.
And I share this with them, and I say, okay, pick two. And this really gets them to think, okay, all right, so I can make it fast and I can make it cheap, but it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
No. Sorry to interrupt.
I was going to say little tools like that are helpful in sort of these pitch conversations, but that LinkedIn Live was great. Got some good feedback from people who didn't really understand the video process.
Yeah. A lot of the time, even what kind of goes into that, where like they think things are so easy, is also because of past experiences that they've had. Like sometimes it's almost better to have people who have never done video before, so they don't know the process, because then we can teach them the right way to do it.
Yes.
There have been times where Dario and I have been pitching to leads where they had like a videographer that came in and did it very simple. Clearly they weren't happy with it, because that's why they were looking for more.
That's right.
But still in their mind, they're thinking it's as easy as that. They just have to go to someone else. But it's like, no, it's not like one person showing up with a camera and then that's it. It's not as simple.
Yeah. People underestimate the power of a good script and a good storyboard. Like that's a thing that I really have to teach my clients of whatever scale. Let's plan this out properly so that on the day of production, there are no surprises, that we know what we're doing, that everybody's on the same page. So.
Yeah. Production should be the easiest part of the entire phase. Yeah. It should be the absolute easiest, not the most complicated.
Exactly. Yes.
Let's see how much time we have. Maybe two more. The last question is really easy. What challenges do you foresee yourself facing in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm aiming to bring the company internationally. So trying to set up shop in Florida this year. That's going to be a huge challenge because my team is going to stay here and do everything here. And I do anticipate I'll be going back and forth. We already have some pretty big bookings for the rest of the year. The other challenge that I've never even mentioned is that I started a film festival here in Oakville. It's called the Oakville Festivals of Film and Art, and that's been going on for this is our 9th year now.
Oh wow!
Those two things at the same time, and I've been the creative director, executive director, and sort of scaling back my role in that company. But to have somebody help them find somebody to fill that role as I move forward in the United States, it's going to be.
But you started a film festival the same year, like pretty much around the same time you started your own company?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like how?
Crazy, man. When you're young, you can do some pretty amazing things if you put your mind to it. No kids. Man, it's amazing what you can do with no kids. I love my kids, but yeah.
Main lesson of the video: don't have kids until later.
No, I mean, listen. Thinking about it, I wish I had my kids when I was younger. To be fair, like now that I'm in my 30s and I have a bit more wisdom to run the business, I could be focusing a little bit more on the business because I have young kids. And I really do want to pour into them. So that's where my focus is at right now. And I think, over the next decade or so, it's going to be kind of trying to balance those things.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it would be a challenge no matter when you have kids, like 20s are when you're trying to grow your career, 30s are when you're really honing in on it. There's really no perfect time,
there's no perfect time.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't in business. We can plan everything. Personal life, like to the most extent, but like at the same time, it's not an absolute, right?
Yes. If you want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans.
I like that. I like that. That's such a good that's a funny piece of wisdom right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Jude, I want to end off on how you got the name for your company.
This is ridiculous. My wife is white and I am black.
It can't be that simple.
So this is the funny thing. The motto is actually funnier than the name, because people, whenever I tell that story, people say the exact same thing. It can't be that simple. But you know, the whole behind, after I gave it some thought, it's like we want the process to be as simple as black and white. For our clients, they show up, we give them a product, it's simple for them. So it has a double entendre, but
you found a better explanation for it after the fact.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, it's funny, but that's the truth.
I like it though. I like it, especially the one that you're pitching now, where it's like you want it to be as easy as black and white. That's pretty good. I like that.
Judah, honestly, man, like I feel like such great ideas and insights were shared, you know, and I think you've had such a unique experience, you know, like kind of jumping into this industry, you know, like that's the one thing Dario and I love about doing this podcast is hearing everyone else's origin story in a way and how they've navigated the space. So thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, guys. Honestly, at this stage of my career, if I can help other filmmakers and maybe be a mentor, I love doing that. So thanks for inviting me on. It's been wonderful chatting with you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.